All right, welcome to another episode of What Is It?
What is it? Come and see here at Manna University.
All right, guys, so it's Dee Bowie. I am back with another episode of What Is It? It's a podcast from Manna University, and we focus this entire podcast around our three major values: educate, equip, and empower. But we do that in a very unique way, I'd like to say, because we just have conversation about those three topics. And I am your host, Dee, but I always invite what I like to call a co-host. And this month, we have Andrew Sutton, who is like a brother to me. So I'm very excited to be able to share this space with him this go-around. Before we jump in, I want you to tell everybody a little bit about who Andrew is.
Yeah. So many parts to the person's story, right? Where do you begin? All right, so I'm Andrew Sutton. I am a pastor at Manna Church. Also, I'm on the executive team. I am the executive director of experiences. And that is something that never saw myself doing, but you know how God works, right? Yeah. He leads you into spaces. I think a big part of the stuff that happened to me was on the other side of me marrying my beautiful wife, Rachel. But so I'm married. I have 2 boys, another one on the way.
Wait a minute. Did I know that?
You do now. Come on.
You know I'm terrible at social media, so if that's where you announced it, it went over my head.
Well,
congratulations!
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. Okay, carry on.
So we're excited.
Hey.
So 2 boys, one on the way. Live in Rayford, born and raised in Rayford, which is really right down the street from where we are today in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Started going to Manna in 2015. Started at Manna U, which was not Manna U was it?
It was not.
In 2017, and God has really just orchestrated my steps, put so many great people in my life that's ultimately led me to where I am today and ultimately on this podcast. So.
Yeah. So speaking of why Andrew is on the podcast, other than the fact that he's like a brother to me, I don't know if y'all can see the family resemblance, but there it is. But there's other reasons. So a part of that is that he is very much a part of Manna University. When we went to Manna University together, it wasn't Manna University, it was Grace College of Divinity. Right. We met in the experience internship.
Good times.
Which I cannot do this without telling you the day I knew he was like my brother. So, okay, here we go. You ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
So we are, you know it pretty well because I tell it every chance I get because it's so good. It's so good. Okay, so we're very new to Manna Church, the college, the experience. I don't know that we were in maybe a month. Yeah. It wasn't very long. And we're getting on the elevator on the 3rd floor of Manna Church on Cliffdale. And we're about to head down. It's me, him, and our other brother, Mike Krieg. Yeah. And we're on the elevator, and this lady gets on the elevator, and she goes, "I didn't know you work here," talking to me. And I'm like, "I don't work here. I'm in the experience internship." And she goes, "Aren't you too old for the experience internship?" And I don't know, y'all, what my face said, but whatever it is, Andrew must have been able to hear all my thoughts because he then jumps in and goes, "Well, if she's too old for the experience, then I must be too old for the experience." And then Mike goes, "And if he's too old for the experience, then I must be too old for the experience." And then she goes, no, I didn't mean any harm. This whole time, I still haven't said a word because I was trying to formulate the words that were Christian. But they weren't formulating.
Yeah.
So I just, that old saying, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything. I think that's where I landed. At that point. But you guys stepped in.
Yeah.
And
great moment.
It was
great ministry moment. You know?
Yeah, it was a lot of moment in that moment, I'm telling you. But nonetheless,
it was really
that
funny,
was that was the moment I was like, okay, these are brothers for life because they had my back when I didn't know which way to go. Again, I was very new to all things Manna, so
You know what? It was just a fun time that God brought us together for a moment for us to bond, to minister to this lady who just wasn't quite aware of what the words meant when she said them. And for us to, you know what? She could have started the internship.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? It could have been an open door for her.
Yeah, she did not.
She didn't.
But,
that's true.
It could have been.
Yeah.
So the experience is one reason why he is a part of Manna University. And that ended up leading you down the road to pastor, which we'll get into all that. But the other part is you've been a part of the golf tournament that we have coming up really soon, quite a bit.
At least a little bit.
Yeah, so much so that I don't know if y'all have seen this, but I've got to show you because look at that.
Listen, I'm not much of a golfer, but somebody told me that's good form. So I'm just going off what they said. So
listen,
you can get feedback in the comments. You know, if it's
yeah,
not.
let's get some feedback. I saw this and I was like, how could we not have Andrew on this podcast during the time when we're prepping for our 15th annual Dr. Stephen Crowther Memorial Golf Tournament, and he's our model, I guess is what we're calling this.
Without consent, but it's all good.
You know what?
I'm
there
good
is
with
something about Manna Church and Manna University and their photos and consent. Like somewhere a long time ago when you was a student, you might have signed a form and they just held on to that even after your student days is over. So it's the reason why you see me pop up all over the place and nobody told me I was going to be on it. We're not going to get into it. That's another story for another day. Anyway, so him being a part of Manna University, Grace College of Divinity, and just being a part of that, I just wanted to have him on. Also, there will probably be some info about the golf tournament that's coming up March 28th. It is a good time. I've been a part of it every year. The Experience internship, when they were the Experience, they were a part of it. My husband loves to be a part of it. He's
playing this year?
Yeah, he is playing this year. He's even ordering the vest. Did you know those vests?
Those vests are nice.
They are nice, right? He's like, order me a vest. I want a vest. I'm like, dude, I cannot see you in a golf vest, but whatever. Anyway, let's get into this, shall we?
Let's do it.
So, Andrew.
Yes, ma'am.
You have been around Manna U for a while now. It was actually, like we said, Grace College of Divinity when you started out. Give us a little background and your full-on connection and what educate means to you in the context of Manna University.
Yeah. So 2017 is when I started the internship. And along with that, we had classes that we were taking, and I actually already had some college credits and I already had a bachelor's degree from prior schooling. And so based off of some of that, it already made sense for me just to go ahead and push through with another bachelor program here at Manna U, was Grace College of Divinity. So that's what I did. I just kept kind of pushing through within that time and on past it to get a bachelor's in Christian leadership. And obviously here at Manna U and at Manna Church, leadership is a common word we pass around.
Oh, yeah.
But the reality is that everybody is a leader. What that looks like looks a little bit different per person in different contexts. But being able to step more fully in what that means for me, I think, was a big part of expanding what it means to be a leader as Andrew Sutton during that time. So I think just the education process to kind of broaden my understanding of what it meant to be a leader, I learned so much through that time. And leadership practicum, being able to actually put hands to the work, hands to the plow, I think is such a major part of the education process, because if there's not the application of the things that you're learning, then it's hard for it to actually get down in the depths of who you are, right? Part of the sanctification process as well. So for me, the education is kind of multifold. So obviously it's food for your mind, you being able to grow and understand and get knowledge, be educated in that way, but without the practical application of how that applies to you, and then you putting your hands to that application, it can just fall by the wayside of good information. So for sure. And a big part, that's what it means to me here at Manna U, is being able to grow in my understanding of what it means to be a leader, and not just a leader, but a leader as Andrew Sutton, the person that he created to me in the context of the local church, so that I can be better equipped to be able to minister to people with the Word of God, to be able to help walk people and walk alongside people as they're seeking after God. And then the leadership practicum, don't negate that, to begin to actually apply that in the context where God has placed my feet. So how those things kind of meld together. So that's what educate really means to me, and I think a big part.
That's good. I'm really ecstatic that you brought up leadership practicum.
Yeah.
Because we had leadership practicum together.
Good times.
And Jonathan Fletcher and Josh Clark was our instructors.
Two great guys.
Yeah, awesome guys. Off doing great things in Manna churches, in city sites.
That's
I think
right.
one's Colorado,
Yep,
one's
Josh Clark,
Killeen.
Jonathan.
But man, the good times we had in that class, it was only five of us total, 4.
Girl, your memory is better than mine.
Oh,
I need
dang,
more
okay.
education.
Okay. Well, I think I only remember because I was the only female in the whole class.
It was fun though.
Yeah, it was so much fun. So, shout out to Jonathan Fletcher, Josh Clark for being awesome instructors for our leadership practicum. All right, so tell me how you are using what you learned at Manna U, Grace College of Divinity, to now educate those whom you lead, because you're a pastor, so you are leading.
Yeah. So, I think such a big part of everything that we do, and this is included in our education, is what comes out of our relationship with Jesus. And not just pastoring, just being a follower of Jesus, everything hinges on my ability to be able to walk with God, to walk by the Spirit, to be led and guided by Him, and to be able to know truth from lies, and be able to walk out what He's placed in front of me in a way that is with wisdom and understanding that actually helps move the ball forward in people's lives. So to that end, how that's being applied in a lot of ways is birthed out of my relationship with Jesus that is tied to my knowledge of Jesus and His Word. And so as I am leading so much of even the counseling and engaging with leaders, is how do we apply the Word of God to our life? What does it look like for us to engage with the Word of God?
Yeah.
So there's the encouragement to engage, and as certain topics and situations, whenever you're going through the Bible, and you're not skipping around and going around topics that sometimes are a little bit more dicey, we would say, in some environments.
Dicey. Yeah, for sure.
A little bit harder to work with for some. You end up being able to really get in some in-depth conversations that I'm just honestly more equipped to navigate at this point because I'm more educated. And through my knowledge of Jesus and my knowledge of the Word, and then the walking with Him by His Spirit, He's led me to a place where I'm really more equipped to help educate, teach, train, and lead other people to walk with Him as well. So the educate, well, it's educating, yes, but it's really through His Word and by His Spirit. And so much of that happened in the context of being here at Grace College of Divinity, and really the walking alongside other people who encourage you to continue to press into His presence and have a holistic relationship with Jesus.
That's really good. I love that how you refined all of that into this place where you are a pastor who is leading, who is now in your own right educating, because you were educated to do so.
For sure.
And I mean, even outside of Manna University, even outside of Manna Church, you got kids that you have to also educate. And so
that's right.
Not saying that you need a degree from Manna University to educate your kids, but I'm thinking it might help just a little bit, especially when it comes to the Bible aspect of it, right?
Sure.
Like we could teach them to walk, we could teach them words, but when it comes to the Bible and understanding, I can personally say for myself, and I'm sure you would agree, that I could not have taught my kids the Word, or teaching my kids the Word of God the way I am now had I not got my education from Manna University.
And the ultimate goal is to look more like Jesus, right?
It is.
So we can then glorify our Father in heaven. And I think so much of being able to raise our kids is to show them what we what we believe in the way that in the way we administer discipline as well, right?
Yeah. So I didn't say nothing in that elevator that day.
That's real. That happens. And so the education process, like, it helps me be a better father. To know how my father fathers me. There's the knowledge side, how God works through His Word and then through His Spirit to make His Word real to us, so that we're actually changed people, and then to be able to father well. Know the Father's heart, apply the Father's heart to our families, and so it is 100%. I am better able to lead my family, lead my boys as a result of knowing God's Word more. Like, it's just important. To walk it out.
Man, that's good. All right, so that was all about educate.
All
right, so we're gonna shift to equip. All right.
That's so nice.
So
educate,
right?
Equip,
empower. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so can you tell us what you did and or what you wanted to do before you got to Manna University?
Oh, yeah.
And then would you say that what you are doing now is because you were equipped to do so through Manna U? I know, it's like, 100%. We're in it.
What you did had nothing to do with
I know.
That
part.
So before I was at Manna U, I was actually working as an indoor skydiving instructor, completely nothing to do with this, obviously. And so I thought coming into this, I was going to be in the marketplace, doing ministry in the marketplace. Like, that was my field for evangelism, sharing the Word of God. Like, that's what I was doing. And ultimately, like, I love agriculture, and especially on a regenerative form of agriculture and market garden type stuff. That's a whole nother conversation that I better not side trail on. But anyways, we'll just say broad blanket agriculture and how that affects the community as well. And so I just assumed that, hey man, I'm going to be doing agriculture within the local community, to be able to invest into the local community in that way, be a part of a local church, obviously. And so as I was doing the journey of Manna University, and walking out the steps within the local church, it became pretty clear that I was not going to be going that direction. I wasn't going to stay doing what I was doing for indoor skydiving, at least permanently. And at least if I'm doing a farm, that baby's on the back burner. It's for sure. it ain't right now. And so I think I actually remember very clearly the day that things changed, where I recognized, like God has called me to this. And so one of the classes, Destiny and Calling, you walk through that to get a better understanding. Wonderful class.
Everybody should take Destiny and Calling, by the way, period. That
is a really, really good class. And so God had been working on me the whole time. If I'm being honest, as I was here in the internship, you kind of get a behind the scenes of what's going on within the staff of the church, the life of the church. And the culture was great. It wasn't an issue of the culture, but what I saw was the way that pastors had to sacrifice their life in ways which honestly I didn't want to, if I'm being real. It's like, you know what, these are things that I want to do over here. I don't really want to have to do these things. It's like I could kind of do some of those things in this environment, but and so making all these reasons why I didn't want to do it. And so I'd already kind of said in my own heart, no, I'm not going that direction. And then I was actually talking to my old boss at the indoor skydiving facility. He's like, hey, you're going to be a priest or something, right? He's from the UK. And it's like, nah, dog, I'm not going to be a priest.
That's not it.
Yeah, that's not how that's going down.
That's not it.
But as I spoke with him, I felt the Holy Spirit speak to me and say, no, you are going to be a pastor. And like, in that conversation, it was multiple times. So you're going to be a priest? No, I'm not. Yes, you are going to be a pastor, right? So I go sit on my couch at my home and start journaling. I like to journal, by the way. Good practice.
It is very good practice.
And so I'm journaling, and Isaiah 41:10. This is when I used to have the verse of the day through the Bible app on my phone, and it popped up. And really through me journaling, as I'm sitting there writing out, God, I don't want to do this. And then His Word pops up and tells me that He's with me. It's His righteous right hand that'll lift me up. It's like, okay, I don't have to fear. Do not be dismayed. Like, my God, he is with me. It led me to the place to say, okay, God, if this is what you want me to do, like I trust that you're going to be with me. And even though in my soul, that's not how I really want to move forward. And so I think really what led me to the place to even get to where I said yes was I had to be postured in a sense to surrender to God in the way that he was calling me to do, and to understand what that even looked like, and to understand how God is the one who shapes really my destiny and calling. Yeah. And that if I want to walk in the fullness of life that he has for me, which you understand over time, then it's going to come through submission and surrender to the Spirit of God that dwells inside of me. And so as I was walking that process out, God was already equipping me to be postured to say yes to that and walk out that journey. So, I think in a big part, I had no idea that this is what I was going to be doing, at least in this capacity, although God was planning and preparing for that the whole way through. And then once it got time for me to step into that, because of all the work that God had done, it was like a year-long journey, honestly, from the time I started here till the end of that. So 2017 I started. It was December 2017 when I felt God call me in that way. He'd already been equipping me through Manna U and through being in the local church to be prepared to say, okay, now we're heading this direction. Start applying even more of the stuff that I taught you. So it was really the whole journey along the way that led to, I think, it being a little bit easier, yes, on the other side of that, even though I didn't want to initially.
That's such a good, that's a part of your story. That's part of your testimony. And it's really good how, you started here, right? So they say, you think about, what is your story?
Yeah.
I was here. I met Jesus. Now I'm here. You were here. You had a direction that you were going. You had a plan, right? You already knew Jesus, but you got in relationship, because there's something different about between knowing who Jesus is and being in relationship, because then you can hear him clearly. That's know his voice. I'm sure it wasn't that Mufasa from Lion King coming from the sky. You know who you are. Like I'm sure it wasn't that at all. I know that everybody wants that moment, but you can't always have it, okay? Right? But because you were in relationship with him, you knew his voice. You knew that was him talking to you. And also because he was telling you to do something you didn't want to do. That's usually a good indication. It's like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, I didn't want to die on the cross, but, his will, not mine. So
he's the way, the truth, and the life.
Listen, the only way, okay? So I love how your story, you had a plan. You got that relationship with Christ, and that led you in this space. Okay, so as a pastor, how are you now equipping others? Because you've been educated, you're educating. You've been equipped. Yeah. How are you now equipping others that are around you?
Yeah. So in the roles that I have, thankfully I get to be around people a lot, which is a really good thing. And so small groups, I think, is just a part of healthy life, being in community with people. Yes. And so that's one way. Honestly, just being in relationship through small groups, and have a number of small groups that I'm a part of. And multiple that I lead as a result of that and being in the role that I'm in. And so a lot of the equipping ultimately comes through those small groups. And the reality is that from a leadership position, those different groups kind of function in different ways that I'm leading, because they're different groups. Yeah. And so the way that we're leading, the things that we're going over, the things that we're concentrating on in those groups are different. So one of them is more focused on the Bible, so we press in more on the Bible. So as far as educating, navigating the things of the soul, fellowship, kind of as a part of that group as well in certain contexts, that one's much more heavy that way. So we get into much deeper theological conversations in that group. Really, really, really great group, wonderful group of guys, some people who love Jesus, pursue him, want to know his word, dive in deep. So really, really good group there. And then really our core team has some phenomenal leaders on it. It's good. And so the way that we are, and I know we're going to talk about empowering here in a little bit, but because of the leadership And really, a lot of these people are already equipped, though, there's always that further equipping that happens.
Yeah, that's good.
So much of what happens in that core team context is to empower them to press into what God has called them to do. And then figuring out the areas along the way that there needs to be further equipping. And honestly, not just for them, but for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure.
What are the areas God's growing me in that I need to be further equipped as he's called me to this leadership role?
Yes.
And then just from a very tactical perspective is where's God calling? So can I see ahead for the lane that he's called me to lead in, and therein the people, and help them press forward into where God's calling them as well. Therein recognize the areas they need to be further equipped and help them walk this process out. And so continuing to grow in that and being better at equipping people to walk in the fullness of calling that God has on them. But a lot of my time and energy is focused on just that, is being able to help navigate with people. Where's God leading you? And then figuring out those areas and walking alongside them walking alongside them into
that's so good. So ultimately, you are taking every bit of how you were empowered, because a lot of what you did when you were being educated was under pastors.
It was.
A lot of it, right? So you're taking all of what you did in your time of being educated, in your time of being equipped, and now you're doing it as a pastor, but with a Andrew swing, should I say? And so you're seeing this in small groups. In the site you lead. You, like you said, your core team, all of these things. These are people who they're your oikos, right? And you are equipping them to do. And then it's cool because you talked a while ago about how you were moving into what God was calling you. Now you're equipping others to learn how to walk out what God is calling them to. That's amazing.
But if I can just say as well, so my degree was in Christian leadership, right? And so a lot of the application of the Christian leadership stuff. So there's getting back to the practical side of it is, you learn a ton of leadership principles as you navigate your education and experience. And as you walk out the leadership, it's not that I haven't felt equipped to do that and educated to do that. It is the practical application of the things that you learn is different than just knowing it. And I think so much of me being able to now step into, and then also the areas where God's leading me to step to, is being able to walk more fully in the education and the equipping that people have already invested into my life. And I think that's just so true in how we actually become the people God's made us to be. There's the education portion, and then the equipping when somebody's just investing in your life the way that we get invested into, and then going and applying that again. They have to go hand in hand. And so that's why it's so important to be a part of a local church. As well.
For sure. This is a great segue into empower, right? Which I said it last time, I'll say it this time. It's probably my favorite of the three words because there's something strong about empower. Powers in the name. Powers. All right. Okay. Take me to church. Okay. So the online dictionary defines empower as giving someone the authority or power to do something. So how were you empowered during and even after your time at Manna University?
So people may not look at this as necessarily empowering, but I think it is. So there's a number of different teachers, and teachers teach different ways, right?
True story. True story.
But I think about probably the best professors that I've had, the best teachers that I've had, they're the ones who gave me clarity on what I'm meant to be doing, and then held me to the standard of which they called me to.
That's good.
So I think part of the empowering is accountability as well, and the ones who, if I miss the standard, They tell me. They let me know what's up, right?
Call you to the carpet for sure.
Yeah. And so for me, like, it was actually really empowering to have professors who would invest in me in that way. To say, hey, these are your left and rights. This is what I'm asking of you to do. Now go and do it, and give me the freedom to get it done that way. And then if I miss the mark, then they're the ones who are going to continue to shape me and form me so that I can be better and walk into the realization of who God created me to be. So I think, honestly, one part of the empowering is just the accountability aspect that I found here of having, actually, Dr. Carlo, I wasn't going to do it, but you were my favorite professor. I tell people, it's the last time I'm saying it though, so done with it, all right? But favorite professor, because of the way that he led, and the standard that he pushed.
He's about the standard life. I know. He's about that, for sure.
As a result of that, it actually empowered me to want to be better. It empowered me to actually want to rise to the standard, which he was raising me to. And as a result of that, I think it made me better. And there's a number of different classes that we take that cause us to have to kind of step out on our own. It's like, it's on us. It's on us. We have decision-making authority that we have to exercise in order to get projects done, assignments done, and especially you're talking about in team environments as well, when there's group aspects to it. And so the way that some of the classes have been set up, and then again, depending on how professors lead those classes, actually really set you up to be empowered to excel in those roles and be challenged for you to be shaped even further. And so giving you, thing about empowerment is you have a little bit longer leash there. And so you have decisions to take the ownership and go one direction or the other with it. But that's also the beauty in it as well, because you see people who are believing in you and trusting in you, have faith in you that you're going to excel in the thing that you're being challenged to do. And so I think, honestly, I think back on the education that I had here at Manna U, some of the classes were very empowering classes that pushed me to excel and I think level up my standard of living and who I was as a person.
No, I'm just gonna say it, and this is not because I work here and I get paid to say it. I'm gonna say it because it's the truth, right? I've been to other universities, right? Other schools. Before I became a part of Manna U. And I think that what you just said is what sets Manna U apart from, I'm not going to name those names. I'm not going to, school drop. I'm not going to do that. But that is what sets Manna U apart from the schools that I attended, is that there was no one who was taking the time to call us to the carpet, no one who was taking the time to set the standard and then level us up to that standard by way of, hey, you did a great job, you you followed the standard, now let's raise the standard because you followed, or you didn't meet the standard, let's deal with why you didn't meet the standard, because how else do you get to where you've been if no one's calling you to the carpet on your stuff? So I can honestly say that's one of the things that set Manna U apart as far as schools, is that empowering aspect that you just mentioned. It's really good. All right. Our last question. Okay. Kind of. Now that you've been empowered, how are you making sure to pass the empowerment on? Who are some of the people you get to? I love that you get to empower in your day-to-day life.
So there's a number of people actually, which I'm super grateful for. When you have, when you get to be on a team like the team that we have, like it's pretty special. And so when you talk about empowering, and I think so much of like ownership and freedom and flexibility, when you are empowered to do something, and it gives you a lot more freedom to operate in who God created you to be, to accomplish the task that has been placed before you. So we have the experiences team. So that's the whole creative suite and what goes into basically everything creative, including everything with marketing, so any sort of video stuff that we do, any graphics that we have, any big projects that fall under that as well. So the teams and ultimately the team leader there. And then for live production, so here in Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, which that just changed. I almost said the wrong thing, right? I had to think about it for a moment.
I know
it was close.
We like juggling names around.
I just got to where I was saying it right. So now I got it.
But okay.
Yeah. So now being here in the Fayetteville Fort Bragg area, we have 6 locations in the area. So being able to do this across 6 sites. So that includes the live production teams across those sites.
Yep.
That includes worship across those sites. And while I'm not touching really all those people, the people who are leading those, I get to be a part of their lives and empower them to own the lanes that they own. And there's so much freedom in that for them and for me to be able to have the trust that I have in them. To be able to do that. And then at Rayford site, I mentioned this, that's the place where I get to site pastor at. Back in my hometown. It's so wonderful. But the team that we have there, like the group of leaders that make up the core team, and their passion for Jesus, their desire for excellence, their ability and willingness to sacrifice, to look more like Jesus and care for people. I can't tell you how much it encourages me and spurs me on. And so to that end, I have people that I trust so much that I feel like I can really let go and let them lead in the way that God's called them to lead in the lanes that God's calling them to steward ultimately. And so for me, a big part of empowerment is being able to, me personally in my heart, to trust the people that God, and it doesn't mean that you don't still have accountability. There's still accountability with that.
Yeah, for sure.
There's still equipping that goes along with that. There's still education that goes along with that along the way. But that's what's happening, and I get to do that as that's being done to me as well.
Oof,
as people are empowering me and trusting me with responsibilities. So yeah, that's the probably 2 main groups of people that I am really investing a lot of time in at this point, is kind of our core team here for Experiences Lane, and then the core team at Rayford. Obviously touching more people than that. It's the nature of what we do, right? We're in the business of loving people and equipping people, but those are the main folk that I have the joy of doing that with.
That's so good. And I love how you kind of explain that ripple effect, right? You're not touching all of these people like directly, right? But this team of people who then go out, and this team of people who I'm sure then go out.
Yep.
So it's a beautiful, the ripple effect can be beautiful when it's used properly. Yep. There's a negative side of the ripple effect. In this case, the ripple effect is so good because that's one of those where you get to be a part of people's lives that you may never even meet.
I know. And just seeing people win. And it's so awesome just seeing people win.
It really is. Yeah.
Take further steps in the calling that God has upon their life. You just get to sit back and watch. You're like, that is awesome. Like, look at them go. Look at them run. Yeah. It really is such a gift.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. Yeah. I have enjoyed, man. The way you articulate and communicate is a blessing. You take your time. You say what's really. You could tell it's heartfelt. It's not just words and blowing smoke, which people know the difference between a person who is just blowing smoke and a person who genuinely cares. Because I know you personally, I know you genuinely care, but I feel like even if I didn't, you could tell because you speak with heart. You speak with care. You can hear the care in your voice, which means you're probably doing phenomenal at the educating, the equipping, and the empowering. Okay, so I have this little thing that I surprise everybody with one bonus question. It's not hard, but you don't have any chance to think about it, so you just gotta, go with it. All right, so you ready?
I am.
I'm so excited to hear your answer to this. Which person in the Bible do you feel most like?
Ooh.
And explain that.
Ooh. Give me a minute.
I got Jamie with this one. One a little different. But
that's a good question.
Who do you feel most like and why?
there's the person who you wish you were like, right? It's like, and there's like, but who am I actually like?
This is who I see.
I'm
That's
David, God, I'm a man after
your heart.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good.
Aspire. Who would I most align with?
There's a lot of people in the Bible I know.
There is. I'm thinking the Old Testament characters and people, but there's certain of Jesus' disciples that you think of as being stronger, and at least me, I think of being stronger in leadership roles. Think about the apostles as well. Obviously, all the apostles went on to operate in leadership roles to advance the kingdom in like really powerful ways. But as you look at the stories through the New Testament and the different personalities through the disciples and the roles that they play, there probably is someone that I relate a little bit more to. So while I know that God has called me to lead, what leading looks like, I think often for me looks like being able to support someone else. And so I don't, some people are called to be lead pastors and to, be the ones in the front charging. And, I'll do whatever God calls me to do and continue to submit and surrender my life and my will to His is the aim of my life. But I don't see myself in that role as much. And so honestly, in some degree, I actually see myself aligning with Andrew, the disciple.
Look at
so
that.
I feel like oftentimes he was in more of a supportive role. He's willing to go and talk and evangelize and tell, ask questions. But so it's not that he's not bold, but he's not like the predominant leader in the midst of that group, right? Like there's a few people who you look at as being Peter, John, James. And so, maybe I'd have to think on that a little bit more, but off the little bit of time I have, I'll say Andrew.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. And I imagine that now you're about to start asking people this question.
I love this question. That's a good one.
Right?
I want to think on it some more.
Okay, so if you think on it more and you come up with a different answer, I'd love to hear about it. And if God maybe just refines the answer that He gave you in this moment, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
It's cool too. Cool. Well, this has been great, guys. Thank you so much for joining Andrew and I as we talk through educate, equip, and empower. Remember, we've got the 15th annual Dr. Stephen Crowther golf tournament coming up March 28th. It's going to be phenomenal. You want to meet these two cool cats here. You'll be there this go? I'm
trying to golf. That's my plan now.
Okay, why? Are they trying to get you to do something else?
No, hey, listen. I've not talked with my wife yet, all right? So we just need to clarify that.
Rachel. Yeah, because we have so much fun. Tell her to, bring the baby.
I'm working on a team, though.
Okay.
Ashton would love, actually. My boy would love to roll out.
Yeah. Okay, well, we hope to see Andrew there. I'll be there. I'm hoping to see some of you there. Yeah. And you're the model for this thing, so you kind of got to.
Might have a new model this year. We'll see.
Well, as always, guys, thank you. We'll see you next time.
God bless you.
Bye, Majors.